Mirage is undoubtedly a Warframe that you've likely heard and seen a lot about. She is one of the most beloved weapon platforming frames out there, and her subsumable ability Eclipse is used widely on a lot of other frames. Now, in this video, I'm going to be talking about a bit about why people like her, starting with survivability. Now, she actually has quite a bit of survivability, and you wouldn't think she does because if you look at her abilities, the only thing you might think would grant survivability would be Eclipse because of the tap portion where you reduce the damage taken from enemies, base 90% damage reduction. This is the bare minimum you need to survive Steel Path in 90%, but she can comfortably go into Steel Path with two abilities. One is naturally Eclipse. Tapping it for 90% damage reduction is very important, but the next part is actually Hall of Mirrors. This gives you some clones, and they actually draw enemy fire, distracting the enemies, and so you actually don't get hit that often. As Mirage, you could run around and you get hit even less. Naturally, you're still susceptible to AoEs and all that other stuff, but gunfire, you'll be pretty good at staying away from gunfire with Mirage. And then even beyond that, you can cast Sleight of Hand when you need to stun the enemies, a little bit of crowd control, and further that with Prism, blinding them, dealing a little bit of damage, and having crowd control. It's all incredibly important. Essentially, you can think of every single one of her abilities working together to give her good survivability. Sadly, none of these abilities stop you from being tossed around like a ragdoll. Now next is probably the main thing people think of when they think of Mirage, her weapon platforming. Now she is a fantastic weapon platforming frame for simply one reason alone. In her abilities, Eclipse, the same ability that grants you damage reduction, also increases your weapon damage at a base of 200%, which can go lower if you're running a negative strength build, but if you have a high strength build, you can easily get 400% damage increase to your weapons. And you can further this with Hall of Mirrors, because with the 4 clones you get, they will also be shooting right along with you, shooting just as many enemies. Though the damage won't be as high, they'll still do the status effects and everything else like that, and this also increases with your strength. And if you run the augment for it, so long as you kill an enemy while their timer is on, they'll gain 5% every time you kill an enemy. Of course, this resets every time their timer resets, but you can continuously gain damage like this, allowing you to get absurd amounts of weapon damage. Weapon platforming wise, just casting Eclipse and then Hall of Mirrors allows you to deal insane amounts of damage with ease. For most Mirages out there, it's usually popular to just run an AoE weapon and then just spam the board with a bunch of explosions. This is annoying for other players, but if you're running Mirage as a solo player, it's perfectly fine and you won't be interrupting anybody. And in most cases in missions, I doubt you'll run into people that complain about it too much. And now she actually does have a nuking build. It's mostly for lower to mid-level nuking. Doesn't really do too well in high-level Steel Path that I've seen, but it has something to do with the Sleight of Hand. Now, if you have the Sleight of Hand augment mod Explosive Ledger Domain, or however you pronounce that, ammo and orb pickups are turned into proximity mines that deal 1000 damage with a 100% status chance. This practically just turns everything around you into continuous nuking. So pairing this with Hall of Mirrors and making just a bunch of explosives clears low to mid-level enemies with insane ease and practically completes the mission automatically, making resource farming incredibly efficient. I've seen this used a lot on resource farming, on relic farming, and on focus farming. Now, that's pretty much just about it. With all of this comes pretty flexible builds, being able to be a weapon platformer, AoE nuker, with high survivability, kind of just crowd controller a little bit. She can scale well into endgame because she just turns weapons into absolute powerhouses. And honestly, if you like fun, chaotic gameplay, I do think Mirage is the way to go. Though a lot of players will find it annoying, you can turn the entire board into a massive explosions and fireworks. So many bright visual cues. Other players might actually find it annoying, but for the most part, it's just going to be super fun for you. And that's pretty much all that really matters. And with that being said, that's pretty much just about it. So let me know what you think about Mirage, whether you love her, hate her, indifferent to her even. I personally love her. She was one of the first primes I ever went to Steel Path with, and I had an absolute blast. She is an amazing weapon platforming frame, and when I want to use weapons, for the most part, I'd always go her. So with that being said, that's just about it. Until next time.